Hey everyone, happy Saturday. I am Shanta Jackson. I am a leader, mother, and social entrepreneur with a vision to help people to help themselves and others. I am also the author of The Journal of a Woman with Lived Experiences, a 21-day guided journal, which is on sale now on my website at shantajackson.com. I share 21 of my personal journal entries, including my personal story of resilience, positive affirmations, self-validation, goal setting, managing stress and anxiety. And what I do in this book is I introduce you to the topic and I give you my point of view. And then I share my actual real life personal journal entry. And then I provide a prompt for you and I leave room for you, the reader, to write. Again, the Journal of a Woman with Lived Experiences is available at shantajackson.com on sale. And this book is also available for purchase on Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, and Walmart.com. So for today's show, we'll talk about what it means to adopt this lifestyle and to use a holistic approach to hair and skincare. My guest is a board certified laboratory scientist, and also she has a cosmetology background. She started her own line of plant-based hair and skincare, and then also she started another division of her company where she helps small beauty brands and entrepreneurs start and scale their own line. So today we'll talk a little bit about harsh chemicals. What are the harsh chemicals in our products, and how do they potentially affect our health, and how can we make better decisions for ourselves and take care of our families? So at this time, I will bring on Iyonna Woods. Hi, Iyonna. How are you today?
Hey, I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for joining me. And you are the owner of, am I correct, owner, Fancy Free Hair and Skin, or do you use different titles?
You are correct. I'm the founder of the business. My title and position in the workflow is Vice President of Product Development and Manufacturing. But I did found the company, yes.
Okay. And so you and I originally met in Baltimore at a farmer's market. Every Sunday you would be there and I would go. And how I was introduced to the farmer's market, because I live in Laurel, Maryland. And so how I was introduced, my girlfriend, LaShawna Jones, she's the owner of Sporty Dog. And she would set up. And so I kind of walked around and discovered Fancy Free Hair and Skin. And ever since, I use your deodorant and the milk, the milk that I put it on my face, skin, and my hair. And so, and you were really receptive, and you took the time to educate me about the various products. And I'll pause, and I'll just let you tell me a little bit about your background and why you started Fancy Free Hair and Skin.
Thank you. I am, like you said, a laboratory scientist by trade. And so I went to school to become a medical and research laboratory scientist, and I ran a medical lab for 7 years, but I have a 14-year career in medical laboratory science. But I grew up in a salon, so my mom's a hairstylist, my aunt's a hairstylist, um, and I worked and I gave little $5 manicures. I apprenticed under my mother as a cosmetologist and actually worked in a hair salon as a natural hair stylist while I was in graduate school. Although I was a natural hair stylist, I had a relaxer. Don't ask. And when I did grow my relaxer out in 2010, going into 2011, I just found that knowing what my hair need, I have really thick, kinky hair. I could not find the product that I needed in the stores. And so I knew I needed for my hair a thick shea butter based product. And the stuff that I did find was really waxy, and you had to like melt it and go through all these steps so that it wouldn't leave a lot of like, clumps of product in your hair when you're trying to use it. And so I found something that I liked. I liked the ingredients, I liked the textures, but I was like ordering it from North Carolina, and she was a hairstylist, so it was just a mess. And I looked at it and I was like, I can make this myself. And so I started making a product myself, and I whipped it instead of melting and pouring it so that it was easier to work with. And that's what I was using on my hair to style. And this is 2012. And so we've come a long way since then as far as natural hair care. But there wasn't a lot out then. There wasn't a lot of YouTube. There wasn't a lot of influencers. And so I would get a lot of questions about my hair. And a lot of women think that it's the product that you're putting in your hair. And product is a big part of it, but it starts with your mindset towards your hair and your natural hair care texture. The products that were on the shelf, I found, were heavy in like the first, when you look at ingredients lists on products, you see that, they're listed in a certain way and it's not alphabetical. The way they're listed is the concentration of whatever that ingredient is. And so what was on the shelf was Miss Jessie's. Shea Moisture wasn't really around. There wasn't a lot of Shea Moisture everywhere. And Jane Carter. And there was one other product that was marketed to African American in the ethnic aisle.
Carol.
And so I don't even think Carol's daughter was in Target back then. I just ran. Target was by my house at the time, so I just ran to Target, and everybody was talking about Miss Jessie's curly pudding, and I just got it. I didn't even look at the ingredients. I just ran and got it, and I had just cut the last like maybe inch or two of relaxed ends off of my ends, and so I ran and got the Miss Jessie's, put it through my hair, and my hair flaked horribly. And that's when I looked at the ingredients. And the first ingredient on that product was mineral oil. And then, way down the list, that's when you start seeing, butters and oils. And so I'm like, so they're marketing this to African American women as a natural hair care product, but it's really not that much natural stuff in it. And as I started digging deeper, I saw that the preservatives they use are known carcinogens. And, you start digging deeper.
Can we pause really quick for my audience? Could you explain what carcinogens are?
So carcinogens are substances that research knows causes cancer. So these are ingredients that, your skin is an organ and it absorbs. And so that's why you can have a medicated patch for pain. You can also have a birth control patch. The hormones are on your skin. They seep into your skin and get into your bloodstream. And that's with any product that you come in contact with. You put it on your skin, it can seep into your bloodstream. And if you have an ingredient that's a carcinogen, it can seep into your bloodstream and begin to wreak havoc. And these are, so you look at what the sheet says about its level of harm that it can cause you if you're exposed to it. And it says, well, if you keep that level down to say 0.05%, right? That's your daily exposure to minimize your risk of having cancer. How many products are Black women using in their hair and on their skin? So if you have one product that's at 0.05% and you're using 10 to 15 products a day, and maybe 7 of them have 0.05%, you are increasing your risk of having some kind of exposure to cancer. And so I didn't start my journey thinking like that. I just knew that when I looked at the ingredients on that jar of Miss Jessie's curly pudding, and also I called Miss Jessie's and I said, hey, you said this product is natural, but the first ingredient is mineral oil, and they said we use an organic mineral oil. And I was like, that's interesting because organic requires carbon and minerals don't have carbon. So who do you think you're talking to like that? And I never used the Miss Justin's product again. I did return it and get my little $30 for that trash, right? Um, and so fast forward, I'm making the product, I'm getting inquiries about my hair and what I'm using on it. And I realized that women were really wanted to stop getting relaxers, but they were scared because they didn't know how to take care of their neck, the texture of their hair as it grows out of their scalp. And so I started what was called fancy free natural hair consults. So my business started as a consulting company. And what I would do is I would sit down with ladies and I would talk about how they wanted to wear their hair, their lifestyle, the type of foods and things, what their goals were for their hair. And I would develop a hair care plan for them. And I would also give them a sample of the whipped shea butter that I was using in my hair. And there were two things that happened. One thing that happened was I noticed that I was doing a lot of therapy. And that was just getting women to shift their mindset about their hair, their natural hair. A lot of women come into the natural hair game, were coming into the natural hair game, looking at pictures saying, I want my hair to look like that, as opposed to trying different styles and figuring out what their hair wants to do, if that makes sense. And so it's like swimming on it's like the whole thing with edge control. If you have kinky curly hair, nothing about it is going to be straight. And so you're trying to put a product on your hair to make it do something that is not designed to do. And that's why none of the edge controls that you try work, because you're trying to force your hair to do something it doesn't want to do, which is the opposite of what I feel, my perspective of natural hair, just embracing the natural texture of your hair. The second thing that happened was all of my customers did not wanted more of the product. So when I was giving them the product, I was also giving them the recipe and saying, hey, this is what I'm doing for my hair. You can do this yourself. They did not want to make it. They wanted to buy it from me. And so that's kind of how Fancy Free Hair and Skin started. I was like, after a few requests, I was like, let me just start at one product and an Etsy page. And that was it. No business plan. My intention was to work as a manager of a blood bank for the rest of my life. Well, until I was ready to retire. I was working at a University of Maryland healthcare system hospital. And so I was like, all right, well, hopefully my kids decide to go to University of Maryland. They'll have tuition covered. And that was my intention. But the business just took off, and you start looking at the numbers and you're like, well, if I'm not promoting this business, I'm not doing anything with marketing, I'm not really putting any effort into this business, and it can grow the way it was growing in the first 2 years, I kind of had to, be my own advocate and say, well, what if I put 100% effort into growing this business as opposed to splitting my time? And that is how I decided that I would become a full-time entrepreneur, and focus on growing my business.
Thank you for that. You said a lot of things, a lot of nuggets, and I want to go back. But first, I want to check in with the audience. So we are streaming live on both Facebook and YouTube. And everyone that's watching, please let us know what city you're watching from. Hey, GB, we have GB checking in from Las Vegas, and we have Raquel. Raquel is watching from Las Vegas. And Kevin Lang is in Las Vegas, and he says that he was born in Laurel. And so Kevin is a new viewer. He's been watching it for a few episodes, and it seems like we have a few we connect in a lot of different places. So that's pretty cool. And then he says that you are the contemporary Madam CJ. So wait a minute. I was prepared to talk about that. And so we have, and I just kind of typed this out without reading it so I'm hoping I'm spelling everything right, but Annie Malone and Madam CJ Walker. And it is, tomorrow is the last day of Black History Month, and we are approaching Women's History Month. And so what better way to have two entrepreneurs, two women, and I would actually, you're a socially conscious entrepreneur, and I like to kind of label myself as a social entrepreneur or a mompreneur, and we're both mompreneurs as well. And so, like I said, Black History Month, and we're transitioning to Women's History Month. So I think this episode is just right on time. And what I'm finding in life is that everything is always, it works out for me. My path is just right on time. It's just me taking the effort, taking the time, just, to do my part. And then it's like, everything always works out in my favor, even when I don't think it is working out in my favor. But it's interesting. So Kevin Lang referred to you as the modern Madam CJ Walker, but it's, so just Black history really quick, and you can chime in at any moment. Fancy. Well, Iyonna. But when I met you, it was Fancy. When I met you, it was Fancy. And so Annie Malone. So a lot of people give Madam CJ Walker credit for being the first the Black or African American millionaire, and she did it from her hair care products. But she was actually mentored by Annie Malone. And Annie Malone, according to her bookkeeping records and possibly her tax records, but I know for sure her bookkeeping records, she was actually a millionaire as well. She's just not as popular. So correction in history for everyone. We think that it's Madam CJ Walker. Actually, Annie Malone, again, she was her mentor, and she had a hair care line, and she's the one that that trained, and Madam CJ Walker was doing sales with her. But what's ironic is the psychological mindset of these entrepreneurs and these women at the time. And so Madam CJ Walker, she was known for the pressing comb. And so think about, it made me think about colorism and self-love, and the way that Black women and women of color in general, especially Black women with more textured, curly, kinky hair, how we've been conditioned to think that our hair is not beautiful. And the fact that the Black woman, a Black entrepreneur woman that we celebrate, she actually, it was, let me show you how you can be more or less like yourself, how you can be more white, basically, straighten your hair. And so any thoughts on that?
No, I have thoughts. I have thoughts.
Ironic though, and so now we're in this space. A lot of us, not everyone, but a lot of people are in this space where they're on the natural journey. I've had color in my hair, but I've never had a relaxer. I wanted one when I was in high school, and my mom she would not let me. And so I thank her for that. Thank you. But yeah, I've never had a relaxer. And but I gelled it up, and so I'm a little guilty of that. And I like how you said lifestyle. How you said your hair, how you want your hair to be. It's about a lifestyle, and it's not just what you put on your hair. It's also what you put in your skin, and then your level of rest, and what you are consuming inside of your body. It all comes out in your hair, your skin, your nails, different things like that. And so I'll pause and just let you kind of respond to some of my comments, and then we'll check in again in the comment box.
Okay, great. Yes, your hair and skin and nails are a direct reflection of what you're putting in your body, as well as your mind. Those things, stress and all of that stuff shows up in your hair and skin. As I grew up in a salon, I grew up with a press and curl. As a matter of fact, when I was about 21, I told my mother, I was like, Mom, I'm gonna grow my relaxer out and stop getting relaxers. And she was like, For what? Now at the time I had really healthy, long, long hair. And so it's kind of like when people back then, when people stopped getting relaxers, it was because the relaxer was actually, they were allergic to it or something like that. It was not because they just wanted to wear their naturally curly hair. And so when I was the natural hairstylist at the salon, the majority of my customers were men who were getting their hair braided or their locks retwisted or started. And the women that I had were actually women who could not get a relaxer. And so I was taking care of their hair that was underneath of the wigs or the weaves that they wore. So I would shampoo, trim their ends, and braid their hair so they could, put their wigs on and things like that. Um, and so when my mother's response, why, at 21, I didn't really have a reason why. I just knew that I wanted to grow my relaxer out. And that's when I started like just educating myself on what the relaxer was really doing to my hair. And I just decided at 30, around 30, I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna grow this relaxer out. And it was a family discussion. I didn't have kids at the time, so it was just my husband. And my husband really doesn't care about hairstyle. He only cares about long hair. So as long as my hair was like, I didn't just cut it off, and start over. He was fine with whatever I decided to do. Um, but the press and curl was a thing. You have to think about society, and back in the, early 1900s, that's before women's suffrage, it's before integration, it's before any, civil rights revolutions, any of those things. And so your mindset is you're trying to integrate into a system that doesn't like you anyway. You're just doing whatever you can do. And you know, in the slavery days, you're just taught, it's just mentally ingrained in the majority of society at the time that whiteness is rightness. So if you're wearing the same dresses as Miss Susie and you're able to shop in the same stores as Miss Susie, you feel good about yourself because I can do the same things that white people can do. I can wear my hair the same way that white people can wear their hair. I can have long, straight, flowing hair just like the white people can. And that was just society. And we have grown out of that. And we can still have long flowing hair. It just doesn't have to, we don't have to risk our life to do it by putting lye and things that we know causes, harm to us. We don't have to do that. Um, but it's just, we're in a phase of unlearning so many things about our image as Black women that it's beautiful. And I love to see so many women my age. I'm 40 who are just embracing and changing, and then so many young women. So I do a lot of talks with middle school and high school age women, young women, and they're pretty much all, natural. Now some of them do wear weaves and wigs, but as far as their own hair, they don't relax their hair. And so I just think that it's a beautiful thing, and I'm glad that I'm here to see it and facilitate it and educate people on how to care for their hair so that they can embrace their own kinks and curls and know that it's a beautiful thing meant to protect your brain from frying in the sun. That's what I like to tell people when they're like, my hair is just so kinky, I can't do anything with it. And I was like, listen, that kinky hair is what protected your ancestors' brain from frying in the fields. Your hair is not unmanageable, it's just dry. Once you moisturize it, you'll be able to get a comb through it. But do you really need to comb your hair? That's something that we've been taught. You know, cosmetology school is all about the chemicals and the processes. There's no lesson really in cosmetology school about caring for naturally kinky curly hair. My hairstylist, she, transitioned me from a relaxer to my natural hair, but I had to like say, hey, this is what we're going to try this time, because we were both learning my hair together. But she went to school and did not have, an idea of really how to care for naturally highly textured hair. So as a society, I just think it's a beautiful thing. I'm excited to be a part of it.
Thank you. Thank you. And for everyone that's watching, let's see. We have Dorita. Dorita is watching from Baltimore, and she says, yay. She's clapping her hands. And Lorinda is in Chicago. She says, this information is very helpful. Thanks. And we have In Your Ear Radio in Las Vegas checking in. Thank you. And Carla, we have Carla. She says, LOL, my edges curl right up. And she is in Newport News, Virginia. And we have Kristen. Kristen is in Las Vegas, and she is a entrepreneur and mompreneur as well. And her company is Buttered and Bliss. And so what she does is she makes mango butters and body oils. And so this is a new endeavor of hers as well. And so I appreciate you, Kristen, for joining in. And I encouraged her to watch because I figured that she can learn a lot from you as well. Okay. Oh, and Carla is correcting us. She's in a different place in Virginia. And again, Kristen said that she is learning a lot from this conversation. And we have Shantu. Shantu is in Prince George's County, Maryland. And he says, thanks, Shanta, for turning me on to Iyonna's products. The tropical delight for hair and skin keeps my locks from breaking and the elbows from getting ashy. Yes. And my goddaughter, I put the hair milk on her hair, on her edges. I keep her in the summers. And so I made sure to buy some of your products so that I can put it on her hair, and just to make sure that she's more healthy with me. And then also just checking in, we have Lachelle Whitmore. Lachelle is in Las Vegas as well, and she's also another entrepreneur and mompreneur. She's a gardener. She grows natural produce in Las Vegas. Everyone follow Lachelle on Facebook, and she also has her own company called Blissful Therapy, and she sells similar products as you, but in addition to that, she's into the spiritual world aspect, so your crystals and your sage and different things like that. And so she's a holistic person as well. So thanks, Lachelle, for checking in. And Lachelle was actually my first ever guest, and my audio was so bad, and I have to go through it. It's not on YouTube, our interview. So I want to circle back and make sure that I do interview Lachelle. I believe it was at the end of June, July 2020. And so on that anniversary, I would like to bring her back. And we talked about the 8 dimensions of wellness. Yes. So thanks for watching. So you were talking about some of the harsh chemicals that are in products. And your products, so let's start with your deodorant. I use your deodorant. I use the Fancy Fresh. That's the fragrance that I like to use. And it is aluminum free. In addition to the quality of your products, can you educate us about aluminum and the impact or the possible impacts on our health?
So antiperspirant is a new thing. And when I say new, antiperspirant came along, I think in the late 1950s. And so you have, like, I guess people becoming more aware of their body odor, and they're like, oh, I'm sweating, so that's why I stink. And not thinking that your body's just doing what it's supposed to do. Your body's supposed to perspire just like it's supposed to have, saliva and tears and natural oils seeping from you. That you make natural oils in your scalp and things like that. And so what the sodium salt that is used is basically blocks the pores of your underarms. And so you have a blockage. And if you have a blockage anywhere in your body, it's going to it's going to unbalance things. And again, you're putting it on your skin where there's very porous, an area that's very porous. And so the aluminum will actually seep into your bloodstream. And then right near your underarms are lymph nodes. And lymph nodes help things move throughout your body. And so the aluminum salt that is used in antiperspirant actually mimics a cell growth hormone. And cancer is the overgrowth of cells. So an unchecked cell growth. Your cells will grow, reproduce, and die. And that's just the normal health cycle. But cancer cells don't die. And so that's why you get lumps and masses and just havoc wreaking in your body. So right there is your lymph nodes and a hormone that's saying, hey, it's looking like a hormone that's saying, hey, let's not stop growing right by your breast. And so you have multiple reports of aluminum in deodorant being directly related to causing breast cancer. And also, if you have someone who is using antiperspirant who has kidney failure, you have a heavy metal that is the body is unable to filter out. And so that heavy metal gets filtered all through your body and ends up in your brain. And although there aren't reports that say, it has been, those are directly related, it is a correlation that people who pass away from Alzheimer's have high levels of aluminum deposits in their brain and kidney failure or kidney issues. And once I kind of thought about natural processes in my body being stopped by something that I was volunteering it to, I decided that I was going to, try natural deodorant. Just deodorant, no antiperspirant. And what I found was everything on the market was either burning my underarms or making my underarms dark. So I did an experiment because I'm a scientist, and I realized that it was the baking soda in the deodorant that was causing this issue. And so I was like, well, I can figure this out. I figured the hair thing out, and I realized I came up with a solution that magnesium hydroxide will have the same effects as, and arrowroot powder will have the same effects as the baking soda that is commonly found in aluminum-free deodorant. And so I came up with a formula, and it worked for me. And what I also found was that I did not have as much body odor. And so I began to associate the body odor that I was experiencing with the fact that there was a blockage in my underarm area and my body was not unable to release waste. And I kind of give the demonstration that, like, imagine you leave a Tupperware of food in your car in the summer and you forget about it, and then you grab it and then you open it and you're like, whoa, that almost knocked me out the chair. And it's the same. Your body holds on to that waste because the pores are blocked, and then you have body odor and you think, oh, I'm not putting enough deodorant on and I need a stronger antiperspirant. But that's not the case. You just need to detox and let it all flow. And that is how I changed my business from fancy-free hair to fancy-free hair and skin, because I was like, wait, if I'm having this issue, I know that I can't be the only one. And so I launched the aluminum-free deodorant, and it quickly became a best-selling product. The shea still is up there, but the deodorant is one of the products that most of my monthly subscribers, they get the aluminum-free deodorant, because it's hard for people to find a formula that actually works for them.
Okay. And speaking of Alzheimer's, Kevin Lang in Las Vegas, he said that his grandmother developed Alzheimer's before she died, and she used some type of cream deodorant that she was using. Tussie?
Was it Tussie?
I don't know, Kevin. Let us know. And you know what? The deodorant that I was using, I had used it ever since I was 16. And so my two cousins, Tiana and Tiffany, they were before their time. They were natural, holistic, and we spent our dad spent a lot of time together. Our dads are brothers. And so they had this catalog of all of these natural products, and this is like from junior high. And so I kind of became familiar with the harmful ingredients and more natural products through them. And so I knew to buy paraben free. And so, but this goes with the marketing as well. So like, as you mentioned earlier, the hair product, it said natural, but the first ingredient was mineral oil. And so a lot of us, we think just because the label says natural or it's paraben free, but once you start reading the back of it, it's like hydro, like I can't pronounce that. And so for me, my general rule is if I can't pronounce it, I don't buy it. And this is mostly about, I would say about 90% of my products that I buy. So everything, some things, you just kind of pick and choose everything in moderation. So I was doing the paraben free, and then up until I met you, I never tried aluminum free deodorant. And my father, he was diagnosed with prostate cancer about 8 years ago. And so then he really got on his natural kick. So he's telling me, don't do this, don't do this. And then he's passing all the information down to my son. Buy this, don't do this. And so my son, he's like, oh, I can't use this type of deodorant. But anyway, I came across your brand, and I ran out of it. And so I was like, well, I'm just going to go to Target, and I'm just going to go to this place and order from here. And I got boils under my arm, like almost like like a really sensitive red. And so I ended up having to put some type of a ointment, kind of like a neosporin type ointment under my arms, and so in order for it to heal. And so ever since I order your product, that's the only deodorant that I use, because I've tried others, and I tried to buy from other Black owned and women entrepreneurs as well, but your particular product works for me and my skin. And I think that's the important thing for us to realize is we have to know what works for our skin, and listen to our skin and listen to our bodies.
Yes, definitely. And the boils is a testament I used to get them too, and I didn't really understand, I just didn't associate it with deodorant, but it's the waste, just encapsulated because it can't come out. And I think that everybody has found, there are a lot of brands out there, and my formula works for some and it doesn't work for some. And that's something you have to figure out, just like hair products. Some products are going to work for you and your hair, how you like to style your hair and your lifestyle, and some are not. And that's okay. But it's important to find that, non-toxic solution for your personal care products, because your health is depending on it.
Okay. And so you also mentioned that when we first logged on, that you are I believe you said vice president of product and development, or development.
Product development. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So tell us a little bit about that division of your company, because we do have some entrepreneurs watching as well, and some smaller beauty brands. And you've just like you said, wait a minute, if people are buying my products and I'm not doing any marketing, maybe I should start doing some marketing, and maybe I should get a website. And then I think you probably had an epiphany that said, wait a minute, there's so many people out here that are making these homemade products, but they don't really have the expertise that I have, and I can help them, and I've learned a lot. So tell us about that division of your company.
I had not ever thought about it until an associate who was looking to launch a beard butter brand, came along and was like, hey, can I sell this as beard butter? And I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. And everything kind of grew from there. And one of the things that he complimented my brand was like, the people that I sell it to. So he was selling the products and is selling the products in beauty supply stores, as well as barbershops, and their compliments, they were impressed with that every batch was consistent. And that's when it hit me that people, some people, it's just like when you cook, Okay, some people are very strict recipe followers. That would be me. And other people, every time they cook a dish, it's going to be different because they're trying something different or they don't remember what they did the last time. And the same thing kind of goes with making personal care products. There's something in, essential oils. Essential oils are great, but if you use too much, if you don't mix it in properly, if the temperature's too high, or too low, it's not going to mix in, and you can have adverse effects on the skin and hair because of that. And knowing the science behind that is important. Now, I have over 20 years of experience in laboratory science, and so that's not something that's not a skill set that I can actually teach, but I do offer a service of developing products. So I have a lot of service providers, hairstylists, barbers, massage therapists who have in mind what they want in a product for their customers to use on their customers and products that they want their customers to buy. But they just don't have the expertise to bring it to fruition, to put together a formula and all that stuff. And so for the product development, I develop formulas for other brands. And for private label manufacturing, I can either take something that you've already developed and scale up your manufacturing. So you're only making, say, 10 to 20 units of a product at a time. I can make sure you're getting batches of 50 to 100 to 200 or even more depending on what your needs are. But I think sometimes once people get beyond, if they're not, a laboratory person or someone who's heavy in chef or baking, because people who cook understand scaling up. I do that. I manufacture and people come and pick their products up and they put their label on it and sell it as their own. And anything on Fancy Free's website, if you want to sell it as your brand, I'm totally open to that. I'm not a person, I'm not going to sell my formulas, but if you want to sell the product, we're in this together. There's enough out here for all of us. And if I can help you meet your business goals or help your customers without my name attached, I'm totally fine with that. I spent, a lot of time. I by trade, my choice of profession harnessed my introvert. And so I spent most of the time I worked by myself in an office. I didn't talk to people. And so I'm totally okay with not being the face of anything. It just so happened that I have to be the face of Fancy Free Hair and Skin. But I'm not, I'm like a backstage operations type of person. As long as I can, peruse the aisles of Aldi freely, I'm good. I don't need, I don't need all the rah-rah behind it. I really enjoy what I do for a living. I really enjoy being in the lab and creating things that are useful and helpful to my people.
And that's why you are successful. You are successful because you enjoy what it is that you're doing and you're choosing to do it. Yes. And so everyone, Iyonna, she just mentioned that she also offers private labeling. So if you are interested in selling some of her products, or if you're interested in the products that she's developing and you would like to retail your own products with your own labels, that is an option as well. And so thanks for sharing that. You're very resourceful, and I appreciate you for that. So how do you work with clients out of state? How does that, so it's just, how do you do that? Do you meet in person, or is it all virtual and you just ship the products out to them?
Yeah, so typically if it's someone who, I usually do shipping anyway, even to my local clients. My local clients do their bulk products. Most of them pick them up, but I do ship. And so how product development works is I'm able to do it at a lower cost because I leave the market research to the client. And the purpose of the market research is for you to properly communicate exactly what you want. When I develop my own products, I know in my head how I want something to be. So I don't have to communicate that to someone. But for someone else, I'm not in your head. So I need to know, like, what's the consistency? What's the color? What's the smell? How is it going to be applied? What kind of packaging do you want? Because certain different product consistencies require different packaging, all of those things. And so once they completed their market research, I put together a formula. And when I think it's close to what they've described, I ship them the trial number one. And they try it, they use it, they live with it for a day or two or a week, and then they give me feedback. Can you dial back the sage oil a little bit? Can we increase the lemongrass smell? It's not sudsy enough. Is it, can we make it a little thicker? That kind of feedback, and then I adjust the formula. I may have to do it 4 or 5 more times, and then I send them their second trial to try. Usually I get the formula right by the second trial. So my customer receives up to 3 trials included in their package pricing. And then if I don't get it by the 3rd trial, additional trials are at a cost. Usually if I don't get it by the 3rd trial, I hate to say it, it's not me. And that's, because I don't toot my own horn often, but I'm pretty good and I'm really thorough. So me sending 3 trials can mean that I tried, 15 to 20 different formulas. So, I'm very thorough in how I put formulas together. And then once they approve it, we talk about packaging and pricing. I have 3 tiers of private label manufacturing services. So the first tier, they buy it by the gallon and they package it and label it themselves. The second tier, they decide what kind of packaging they want. I manufacture and package it, and then they label it themselves and sell it. And then the third tier, they get a fully retail-ready product. Essentially, I manufacture, package, label, and then they come get their products. But I do have clients pretty much all over, as far as California, North Carolina, and we just ship it to them.
Great. Thank you. Kevin, when you were saying you're not trying to toot your own horn, he says, no, take your credit. Yes. And let's see who else before we sign off. I want to make sure that we get to all of the questions. Kevin also wanted to know, what about male pattern baldness? Do you have any products or maybe any insight on that?
As a healthcare professional, I want to sell you products. But when people talk about hair loss and hair thinning, there are a lot of factors that go into that. And so I don't just say, oh, well, the castor oil, the milk for hair and skin, those all have, ingredients that stimulate the root for hair growth. If you're taking a medication that causes your hair to fall out, if you only eat burgers and you take off all the veggies, if you only drink Pepsi, like all those things contribute to hair loss, and then also genetics. So sometimes it's just in your genetic code for you to start balding at a certain age. And so I ask a lot of questions before I start recommending products, because sometimes it's not product, it is other things going on that will cause the hair to fall out. Sorry, Kat.
Thank you. And my mother is checking in from Las Vegas, and she says hello and thanks for the great information. And she says, I'm also natural. I think I believe when she was maybe 19, she had a perm, she had a relaxer, and or a jerry curl. I can't remember. So like when I'm from the West Coast. And so growing up, a lot of saw all the cool guys, they had the curls and stuff, your Ice Cube and your Easy E's and all that stuff. And she says, when I was talking about Lachelle, she says that she has used Lachelle's products, and she will also continue to support her as well. And for us to have a birthday, thank you.
Thank you.
And let's see who else. GB, he wants to know, do you offer scents, fragrances, perfumes, and colognes?
I don't dabble in just like fragrances. So I do have an exclusive line of whipped shea butter that are inspired by certain colognes and perfumes. But as far as just a perfume, I don't have that kind of product just yet.
Okay. And do you have a take on any types of fragrances or perfumes to avoid?
No, I mean they're all pretty much, a fragrance oil in an alcohol base, and you're using such a small volume that it should not adversely affect you. I would still look at the ingredients if they do have water in them, which one is the I think it's Eau de Toilette has water in it. So you want to be cognizant of the kinds of preservatives they're using. But again, how much perfume are you really putting on your actual skin, that it shouldn't have an adverse effect. But paying attention to preservatives is important, because some of the preservatives used in personal care products, especially those marketed specifically to African Americans, have been known to cause cancer.
Okay. And I did notice that you use distilled water in your products as well. And why is that?
Why distilled, or why am I putting water in products anyway?
Why distilled water?
Oh, distilled water is purified. And so, we drink tap water, which is filtered, which filters out a lot of, pathogens, so bacteria, viruses, but it doesn't filter out everything. And so distilled water is essentially, you boil water and the water evaporates into steam, and you really know that there's nothing in the steam. And so distilled water is the steam captured and then condensed. And so I use technical grade, so it's as pure as water as you're going to get out of the container. And then once I open it and use it, it still is exposed. But that's why any product that has water in it also has to have a preservative, because you could get fungus growing in it in your product.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. I'm glad that you said that, because we do have, like I said, and we don't know who's going to watch this, and we do have a lot of people that are making or developing their own products, and they're selling them, not really having the understanding of the level of understanding of what you just mentioned about the fungus growth and how the ingredients interact with each other, and then even shelf life. Mm-hmm. And we have City Don, and he's watching from East Africa. Hey, thank you for watching. And we have Jimmy. Jimmy's in the house, and he's watching from Las Vegas. And Kristen, she has a question for you. Do you have any deodorant or body wash recommendations to combat odor for very active teen boys who play sports? I'm aware that it may be diet and hormones.
Hormones is interesting, especially for teenagers. You just have to experiment with it. I found that you have to find a fragrance that is complementary to the person's own natural pheromones, so their own natural odors. Some perfumes or fragrances will complement it, and some will clash, and so it'll smell bad even if you're not funky, if that makes sense. And then to get rid of odor, I like Dr. Bronner's. I just like peppermint soap. And so that's what I recommend for anyone, is for hitting the hot spots in the shower. But to me, so I do offer bar soap, but to me, soap is not my thing. I just offer it because my customers ask for it. But it's not the type of soap. It's not like a Dr. Bronner's peppermint soap that's gonna just knock everything out. So to wrap it up, finding a fragrance of a natural deodorant that complements the body's natural odor or natural smell, because it's not like a male odor or anything.
Okay. And then we're almost we're at our final questions, and so or comments. And so City Don, again, he's in East Africa, and he said the biggest percentage of people here use products which contains chemicals we think are dangerous, but because it makes our hair look good, but they don't want to know what will come after sometimes.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Yes, especially with the I'm seeing a lot of women are bleaching, and even here in the States, especially in the West African communities in Maryland, I see a lot of women bleaching, and their skin is turning gray, and it causes hormonal issues. I've read from research studies and different things like that. And again, like you said, our skin is organs, and whatever we're putting on our skin is being absorbed into our bloodstream. And I know people are bleaching, and this is not necessarily just this is not in your purview of your products that you offer, but just in the fact, since we're talking about skincare, even bleaching. And that made me think about when you were talking about the lymph nodes for the aluminum. And so when we also have our lymph nodes in our growing or bikini areas as well. And so we want to be mindful of the type of products that we're putting in our bodies that are not just potentially absorbing into our bloodstreams, but if you know anatomy and you know where your lymph nodes and certain things are located, then you're increasing the chance of it actually being able to get into your bloodstream and into your body. Yes. And Kristen, she says, thank you for your response. And Jimmy, last question. He says, so what about spring water, Dr. Sabi? Dr. Sabi says spring water. So Jimmy, in the context of this discussion, she was speaking from the laboratory sciences and talking about the ingredients in the products that she uses. So for the technical grade distilled water that she's using in her products, that's the best option that she uses for her quality. Now, as far as spring water, I actually have a glass of I'm detoxing right now. Y'all don't talk about my nail. I'm self-conscious. I broke my nail, and I haven't. I'll be 40. I'll be 40 in a couple of days, and so I'm waiting until my birthday nears before I go to the nail salon and the spa and do all my stuff. But yeah, so I'm detoxing right now. I'm using the D Herbs 10-day body cleanse, the Full Express body cleanse. And AD Dolphin, I actually interviewed him. So everyone go on my YouTube channel and search that for that interview. So he's the owner of D Herbs. And so I'm detoxing. And I'm in my first 5 days. In the first 5 days, you drink distilled water. And I drink water, usually alkaline or spring water anyway. But this is, Jimmy, this is distilled spring water. Okay, so I just wanted to kind of just clarify that you can still drink your spring water, and if you want to have it distilled, you can. But the reason that distilled water is not something that I drink on a regular basis, but I do understand that it helps to draw the toxins out of your body. Yep, birthday girl on deck. I'll be 40 years old. Thank you. Iyonna, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate you. Everyone, please do visit her website, fancyfreehairandskin.com, to purchase her products. She has a lip balm. I use the lip balm. She has the hair milk. She has the shea butters. She has the baby butters, even the hair clay wash, even hair products, bonnets, and then the consultations. Are you still doing the hair consultations?
Yeah, I still do those.
Okay, so the individual hair consultations, or if you're interested in becoming an entrepreneur and you'd like to launch your own hair and skin line, contact her. Or if you already have your beauty brand, contact her on her website, fancyfreehairandskin.com. If you scroll down to the bottom, her contact information is there with the email address. And also be sure to follow Fancy Free Hair and Skin on Instagram and Fancy Free Hair on Facebook and Twitter. And as I mentioned earlier, I am Shanta Jackson, and my purpose in life is to help people to help themselves and others. I am the author of The Journal of a Woman with Lived Experiences, a 21-day guided journal, and it is on sale. Go to my website, shantajackson.com, to purchase your order. Or you can also go on Amazon, Walmart, and barnesandnoble.com. Thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you next week.